Okay, how you doing? Today we're going to demonstrate on how to remove and service the centrifugal clutch on a 2008 KTM 50 SX. This goes for years 2008, I think, to 2004 or so. Here's the clutch area right here. What I like to do, first off, it's December 6th, I believe. What I like to do is get the oil a little warm so it flows out freely before I drain it. So we're going to do that and get this clutch out. Clean it, replace it, and get it over with. About 40 degrees out, December 6th. Want to get the bike warmed up a bit. Okay, engine's warm. Take 14 millimeter and remove crankcase bolt to drain the oil. Make sure you got something to catch it. Maxima 75 weight crankcase oil. Then you want to take an 8 millimeter socket and remove all of the clutch cover bolts. Cautiously, you can probably save the gasket and use it again. As you remove the top two bolts, just pull it away cautiously, and you might be able to save the gasket for reuse. If not, you got to install another one. They're pretty inexpensive, and you should have some oil that you can continue to drain out. Just gingerly pull it away. Oh, got one more. And there's your clutch. Clutch cover, nice and clean. Centrifugal clutch. This is what we're going to remove here, and you do need a clutch puller. Okay, when removing the 15 millimeter nut to get the clutch out, if you don't have a piston stop, you're going to have to get a thicker screwdriver, go through the clutch, through the primary gear, in an effort to hold this back, or she'll just spin on you. And they can be pretty tight. There we go. Just kind of holding everything back. Loctite's nice and secure on there. As you can see, you will need a KTM clutch puller where it notches into the hub and pops out the clutch, and you should hear a large pop, which is going to be a little frightening, but that just states that you've had it compressed on to the torque specs. I kind of grab it from here, like a ratchet, and pop. That wasn't too bad. Watch, keep an eye on the washers. Right here, they're on the front. Sometimes they stick to the hub and your bolt nut, actually. The 3-shoe KTM clutch, which I'm going to change the washer specs, clean, and reinstall. When we do reinstall, we want to make sure we get all that Loctite cleaned off there. This is your clutch drum, okay? It's always good to inspect that, make sure it's clean. You can see I got a little bit of wear. Eventually I got to replace it, but it's in good shape. Primary gear's in good shape. Everything looks good. Okay, here's where we take the project inside. So what you're going to need is your torque wrench. You want to be able to mic the washer stack on the clutch. You have your clutch here, your 3-shoe clutch, which I'm going to disassemble and remove all of the washers and reassemble. This was the old configuration I was using. At 0.651, it was hitting way too high up in the RPM range. So I'm going to go back to this configuration here. You also need a 10mm socket to remove the clutch bolts from each of the shoes. I'm going to try to keep all of those washers intact separately because I had good tolerances between the two. I think we need to be within 0.003. So I'm going to dismantle this and then I'll show you what it looks like. So here's my clutch hub. You always want to inspect this, make sure there's no cracks. You're going to have to clean out the Loctite that's in there. Here are my clutch shoes. Got a little deterioration there. That's eventually going to fall apart and I'm going to need to replace this one. But when I replace this one, I'm going to have to replace all 3 so they all stay within tolerance. So I'll probably get a little bit more life out of this. It's the end of the season, just doing some practice. I'm going to add some flat washers and I'm going to change the configuration here. Always inspect inside the shoe to make sure a washer doesn't get stuck and you're looking for it later on because there's oil in there, clutch oil, and you'll end up having to look for it. So I'm going to take these 3 washer stacks, dismantle them individually, go from this stack to this stack, and clean the bolts. I'm going to make sure my sleeves are in good shape. They got a little bit of wear in them. You could emery cloth them, get a little bit more life, but then they should be replaced. So I'm going to do one at a time, and I'll show you what they look like once I'm done on the reinstallation. Okay, this new combination washer stack consists of 14 Belleville washers per stack and 1 flat washer. This is the stack we're going to use. So I made sure everything was clean. There were no cracks. These sleeves do need to be replaced shortly. We're at the end of the season, just doing some practice, so we're going to use them. Make sure the drum is in good shape. I cleaned out all the threads of old Loctite. So now I'm going to put this combination stack on each washer, and then I'm going to reassemble 7 foot-pounds with blue Loctite. Show you what it looks like. So with the new stack configuration of the Belleville washers, you can see I'm within tolerance. I have 0.608, 0.609, and 0.609. This gives a little bit of play in the clutch shoes, but it seemed to work really well for us. It hits hard, doesn't fade, lasts a long time, might put a little bit of wear on the shoes, but I've run this all year, so we're going to run this combination. We're going to apply a little dab of Loctite to the threads, okay, and we're going to tie these back into the drum at 7 foot-pounds of torque per specs. Show you what it looks like. Okay, you want to be sure to slide the washer stack into the clutch shoe, then apply a small drop of blue Loctite. I kind of work on an angle because I really don't want that Loctite to interfere with the washers in any way, shape, or form. Take it, snug it down. And instead of using a vise, I kind of use the edge of my countertop. Doesn't go well with the wife, but I don't want to damage. And there's my click. Check it again. There's my click. There's always been a little bit of play in the washer stack. But from what I understand, that's okay. It might create a little bit of noise, but this stack has worked really well. So I'm not going to do the other 3. I'll take a full measurement of my clutch altogether and make sure it's within tolerance, and then we'll reassemble in the bike. Okay, clutch is back in spec. I inspected my primary gear, my clutch, drum. Hub's in good shape. We do have a little play. There's a little play. I've been running it like this, and it's okay. It's all torque to specs. You do want to make sure your crankshaft is clean of any Loctite, the crankshaft nut as well, and you're going to have to find that spot if you don't have a piston stop to hold that back, or else the nut will go on kind of snug and it'll spin the crank and spin the piston. So you really got to find that piston stop. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries to locate it. So we're going to drop the clutch back in. I have 2 space washers on the outside because I had a little bit of a rattle. I'm not sure why. Could possibly be that the clutch hub is wearing a little bit, so I kind of just pressed it back on. And then I'll put my bolt on, and then we will torque it up to 26 foot-pounds spec and go from there. Okay, I reassembled the clutch. I put a little red Loctite on the threads, put my 2 washers on and my crankshaft nut, and now we're going to try to get this snug to 26 foot-pounds. So 26 foot-pounds, clutch is reapplied. Okay, everything looks good, nice and clean. I've cleaned off as best I could some of the old gasket material. It's always good to let this set up probably for 12 hours. I don't have that kind of time today. I mean, I guess Loctite will set up in maybe about a half an hour before I put fluids back in. I run 250 cc's of Maxima 75 weight. I'm going to do my best to reuse the gasket, which are reusable. When they start getting damaged, you do have to replace them. These aren't the greatest to line up or the easiest to line up and get secure, but you're going to make sure it is lined up or you'll be draining oil and putting it back in. So just use caution there as well. Just want to make sure everything is lined up accordingly. So we'll show you what that looks like once it's back put back together.